Well, hi everyone, and happy Earth Day and happy Earth Week. So, my name's Sally Jacobs, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest Women Who Qlik LinkedIn Live. And really, today we're going to be focusing on how data can really empower change and drive outcomes through data. So, a lot of the sentiments that you saw and heard in our opening video. And I've got three amazing, inspirational women who Qlik leaders with us today. And I know that you'll find this such a fascinating and inspiring conversation. We have Eva Rumprecht from Smile Train. We have Ashleigh Chapman, a human rights lawyer who works with Engage Together. And we have our very own Julie Kay, who is a director of Qlik.org. And she also spearheads Qlik's nonprofit and also leads our sustainability office. So welcome, ladies, to LinkedIn Live.
So excited to be here, Sally.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So Julie, if I could just start with you, please, if you could just do a brief introduction and just really talk about your really important role in kind of spearheading Qlik.org and the work that we do with nonprofits at Qlik.
Yeah, certainly, Sally. And today I'm joined by two wonderful ladies and friends of not only our organization, but obviously of myself as well. So super excited to be here today. For well over a decade, Qlik has supported various nonprofits with Qlik analytics software. And it's an incredible journey that we've had, sometimes working with organizations that are maybe, working in very vulnerable areas of our world, organizations that are focused on climate change and addressing the issues related to that, and organizations that are focused on kind of providing health and equity to vulnerable populations around the globe. So Qlik has supported over the years hundreds of nonprofits with our analytics software, and Qlik colleagues from around the globe also kind of support these nonprofits and leverage their skills to help these organizations further their mission through the use of data and technology.
Perfect. Yeah, it's so important and also so inspiring to see all the work that we do and that we do through Qlik.org. So let's talk a little bit about that work that we do together. So Eva and Ashleigh, I was so inspired to hear about your personal stories when we kind of we're discussing this episode of LinkedIn Live. So could you give us a little bit of background to your roles and your companies, and also any personal experience or motivations that led you to where you are and kind of what you do? So Eva, who could start first with yourself and Smile Train?
Thank you, and hello everybody. Eva Rumprecht, VP of Programs, Data and Technology at Smile Train. Smile Train is the world's largest cleft-focused organization. We are currently in 70 plus countries, and we have a model of ensuring local sustainability. So we empower medical professionals with training, funding, and various other resources to provide free cleft lip and cleft palate surgery and other comprehensive care like nutrition or speech therapy to cleft-affected individuals globally. And my journey happens to be unusual. I happened to be employed by a software company that was providing technical support to Smile Train. And originally, I was only interested in the technical data aspect of the work, but I quickly became impressed with the model of care delivery practiced by the organization. Instead of sending ad hoc missions of very well-meaning individuals to other countries, Smile Train invested in the local in-country health systems, which resulted in a delivery of care that scaled, that was much less expensive, and was without a doubt better for patients as the care was delivered on the ground at all times. So I decided I wanted to be a part of it, and before with an organization. organization that has a clear focus and has a very great model long before local sustainability was a golden standard.
Absolutely. And I was amazed with, how many countries, how many people that you support, how many operations that you've done. It's an amazing, amazing organization.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really is. And Ashleigh, how about you? Because I know you've got a personal journey that started quite early, actually.
Yes, it did. So yeah, thank you, Sally, Julie, Ava. So excited to be here today. So I'm a human rights lawyer, yes, and the founder of Engage Together, which I'll explain in just a moment. My world of work centers on helping communities and countries end human trafficking in all of its forms, forced labor, sexual exploitation, and organ trafficking, and also to address the vulnerabilities that are driving that level of exploitation in that community. My first introduction to this in our world was when I was 11, and my parents took into our care 3 children who had experienced this level of trauma in their young lives. And just in addition to seeing everything that they were going through for, when they were with us, to help them heal, to help them feel safe, and all of those things, the thing that was really burdening my heart was, how could our community have allowed this to happen? How could we not have prevented it in the first place? Why was it so hard? I was watching my parents fight every day a very broken system in our community to keep these kids safe and cared for and headed in a good direction. The end of their story is good, so be encouraged by that. But after their time with us, I went to my parents and said, "Hey, I've got to dedicate my life. I think, God put me on this planet to do this. I got to fix this. I think I'll need a law degree to do it." And that's been the only thing I have pursued every day since. Today, though, there's a marriage, not just of law, I would never imagine then, and data and technology partners that help to make all that happen. So Engage Together exists to strengthen community response to end and prevent human trafficking. And we do that by unearthing everything going on in that community related to this, every person doing any work on behalf of any issue that's tangential or directly addressing trafficking, so that we can illuminate strengths, gaps, needs, opportunities, and vulnerabilities in that community and help them transform what is going on. So I know we're going to unpack that further, but Qlik has been a huge partner in our ability to actually make that sing in communities across our country and around the world. So I'm just thrilled to be here today and so excited about this conversation in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start delving into data, because when you talk about, Smile Train and, human trafficking, you don't automatically start thinking that data could be part of the solution and such a critical part. So Eva, I know data is really foundational to Smile Train, and the founder really believes in that. Could you just kind of give us some examples of how data really plays a part in your everyday life?
Yeah, thank you, Sally. Absolutely. Data is really important, crucial to Smile Train since our inception. And Smile Train was established 25 years ago. We are celebrating our great anniversary this year. As an example of the early data adoption, our founders, and one of them happened to run a software company, our founders created an online patient database that contains information about every single patient we have helped in the last 25 years in one of the 70 plus countries. There are over 250 surgeries done globally, simultaneously almost around the globe. And all that data is residing in our patient database. With its immense ethnic, age, or cleft complexity range, this is one of the largest databases in the world. Qlik is phenomenally helpful in allowing us to dig into the data and understanding the variety, the trends, etc. So yes, we collected data, and thanks to Qlik, we were able to look at it in many different ways that make our lives much easier. We can share the data with research, so 25 years worth of data for us. It's a gem for our organization, and also for external researchers who want to pursue various elements of cleft studies.
Amazing. And I think it is that sharing of data, but also really helping. And I think you were saying previously kind of that prioritization, and allows you to spot patterns very easily and kind of direct where you need to be in the world. So I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry to finish and interrupt. Apologies for interrupting you. We actually were able, thanks to that, to measure the number of cleft surgeries against the estimated annual cleft births, for instance, and we were able to establish many various other benchmarks. So yes, thank you.
Amazing. And Ashleigh, in terms of the fight against human trafficking, again, data doesn't automatically spring to mind as a real critical part of that solution. But kind of how do you really see data as being part of that solution?
Oh man, I could go for days on answering that question, Sally. Let me begin, in case there are folks listening in who don't quite understand the scope of human trafficking, by sharing a couple of data stats that are important to understand. So one is that trafficking in all of its forms in the last 5 years has grown by 25% globally. We're over 50 million souls worldwide who are being exploited in this way, and traffickers' wealth continues to grow too. So whilst we have 50 million, and that is a utterly conservative number, because you can imagine how difficult it is to count individuals who are being exploited in this way. But traffickers combined are making more than $230 billion per year off the sale of human beings and exploiting them in these ways. This is in every community, every state, every country issue. It is pervasive, and it is complex. And so, but what happens is, in communities who finally come to an understanding that trafficking is happening, which is nearly everyone now, unfortunately, they respond, they're reacting to that reality. And that's understandable and needed, but it does not lead to solutioning around it. So what happens is, law enforcement will build a response, and social services will build a response, and your nonprofits will build a response. And most of the time, they're not working together. They're working a bit in silos, or maybe, with 5 others that they know. And all of a sudden, all these actions are happening built on not insights, not comprehensive data-driven insights about what's really the problem going on in that community, where really are the levers, that where traffickers are exploiting people, but based on just conversations with maybe a few others in the room. That's not solutioning, that's response. So my heartbeat and our team's heartbeat is, how do we help them see what they cannot yet see? Because traffickers do not just exploit vulnerable people. They exploit vulnerabilities, especially in our systems of care. So they're finding the gaps. They know the gaps that are happening in that community, where they can come in and exploit people who are already experiencing vulnerabilities, and that community will no longer see if that person just disappears into this. And so we eliminate that with both open source and shared stats and data. We just assemble all of it. It's this massive thing. We slurp it, into data analytic engines and visualize it through Qlik, because that's the key, right? So it's not just gathering data. And that's critical. Otherwise, we're just guessing at what we need to do on this kind of level of complexity. So we need to know what we need to do. And so, and that means we got to see all of it, but we got to understand it, right? So it's not just gathering data. We got to find a way to help people digest that, who are not data geeks like I am, right? And like those on this call today, that data to them might be overwhelming, right? It might create a paralysis. So you got to find a way to help them digest that information and visualize it in ways that inspire action, right? So we don't want to, trafficking is scary, I get it, but there's so much hope here, right? If we could really understand what's happening, we can prevent it, identify it, intervene, care for people better, and reform what's broken that's allowing this to happen in the first place. And so that's what data does in our world of work.
That's amazing. It's really amazing to think about how powerful data can be, but it can't just be data. It needs to actually be translated into something that inspires action which is what we all talk about with analytics and visualization, etc., etc. So kind of if I can go to you, Eva, like why Qlik? Like I know the fantastic work that Julie does, but you know, with working with nonprofits, quite often there isn't an army of data scientists behind us. Yeah, like what was it about Qlik and Qlik's tools that enabled you to use the data that you've gathered and translate it and to use it so that you can share it, drive action from people to really highlight issues, but also gain consensus around the room? So Eva, if I could come to you about like your journey with Qlik, that would be amazing.
Thank you. This is an excellent question. We are the patient database that I have mentioned before is just one of our data holdings. We are really a data-rich organization. We also have many stakeholders involved in our activities. There will be patients, our partners, donors, our own staff, communication teams, regional colleagues who support our work in the field, HQ, researchers, auditors, members of medical advisory board who need to have pure medical data. So lots of stakeholders. So you can imagine that we need to slice this data and make it available in many different ways. And it needs to be authorized. It's sensitive data most of the times. And it needs to be represented in a way that's appropriate to various stakeholders. And it needs to be current. So I really find it hard to even imagine how we did it before Qlik. When we tried to share this data with stakeholders, we did our absolute best, but without automation and without reliable sources pulled in at all times. It was a really, really hard work. So at this stage, we are in a very happy position of being able to slice the data and use it for decision-making at every level, day-to-day work, our annual budgets, our strategic planning. We basically just go to Qlik, pull our data, and it can be data pulled from kind of like a canon of Qlik managed data, or even ad hoc projects. So for instance, we would like to expand into some area, or maybe we'll try something else. We really can measure what we would need to do on the ground already in Qlik and figure out, no, this does not make sense. This would not be a good use of donors' money. So Qlik can help us not only with monitoring of what's happening, but also in trying to figure out where we should spend our precious resources.
Absolutely. And I remember you talking a lot about donations as well. You can track donations, and that's so important, isn't it, in kind of your world, to really be able to track that and to show the donations and where the money is going as well. So Ashleigh, in terms of Qlik for Engage Together, I know that you were saying that it all kind of clicked, which is pretty good when you first started having conversations, but yeah, you've had a great journey as well.
Yeah, boy, I think Eva's right. I shudder to think of how we used to do it, back in the day, right? I've been at this for 24 years, so back in the day, when it was whiteboarding, and spreadsheets, and people had difficulty with spreadsheets, but some people still do, and so it was just fascinating, right? Because you're working with trying to gather information from so many different sources in a community: law enforcement, nonprofits, dentists who are providing pro bono services to victims, lawyers who are helping with U visa and T visas, faith-based, efforts that are, my favorite group ever was a group of 4 nuns who had created such a cool response in their community, but it's just so varied, right? I mean, it can be highly complex or simple, but meaningful. And gathering information about all, around all of that, in ways that we can slice and dice it back to that community for action. We tried a lot of different things. I'll not name the different things we tried. I'll just say this though: Qlik, yes, it was a godsend. So when I just felt like I was like, either the solution we were working through was too hard to manage. Our own team was having difficulty, managing that. And we certainly had a lot of volunteers who were data analysts and, different things from different companies, that were helping that. So that was so meaningful. But my own team couldn't even render, some of the things that we did produce in other technology skins, or the community. It was too hard for the community to understand, right? The visualization that was produced was not meaningful to them, right? It was too dense or too complicated. When Qlik came to the table a few years ago, it was everything I was hoping for, and and more. So we are now able. Our teams can manage it. Even our non-techie, data loving teams can utilize this engine. But certainly the community at all levels can. And yes, it was right. Those layers of access, layers of security that have to be baked into this. The ability to push reports. I mean, there's so many layers to this world that have enabled us to analyze swiftly, right? Visualize well, and help that community move forward based on that. What excites me mostest, is when we get a room of about 120 people who are heads of all your different government agencies, heads of all your different departments and children's services. And when you showcase that data for the first time, they can now see it. The whole room just sits up because it's like they kind of sensed, that there were problems in this area or that area, or that maybe we were strong or weak over here, but they didn't know. And being able to visualize that, it just shifts the whole conversation forward. We stop wasting time asking, what are we doing? How are we doing it? And now we can ask better questions like, what should we do next? And who should we do that with? And it transforms the whole story.
So solutions, not responses, as you said before. I think that will stick with me. So Julie, you must have just been so proud to listen to Ashleigh. I could see you being very proud to listen to Ashleigh and Eva talk. Just from your perspective, what are the kind of some of the key highlights from the stories?
Yeah, absolutely. And what, the common thread, obviously, with Eva and Ashleigh's story, their joints, kind of their unique stories, is that they got into this work because they wanted to help people, right? Eva was inspired by the work that Smile Train did to help vulnerable children receive this life-changing surgery so they were not shunned from society, shunned from their communities, and had a chance at a better life for themselves. Ashleigh was inspired at the age of 11 because she experienced firsthand with her family members, what the toll of human trafficking can take upon a person's life. And she wanted to change that. So both of these women are such a huge inspiration because they got into this work because they wanted to help people. And I like to think that Data and Qlik found them, right? Yeah. They were on a journey, and we were blessed to actually be introduced to the two organizations because, our technology is incredibly adept, and uniquely so, at breaking down silos. Not just within one organization. We hear about that a lot. Organizations, have different departments, right? Finance, HR, marketing, sales. You got to break down the silos in order to move your organization forward. What both Smile Train and Engage Together are doing, as well as hundreds of the other nonprofits that we support, they're breaking down silos in communities across organizations. And because our technology is so adept at kind of blending data from a variety of different sources, whether they be public information sites like the World Health Organization, or internal data, or survey data like Ashleigh was talking about in the communities, our technology is so gifted at bringing this information together and being able to support Eva and Ashleigh and others to tell a story with that information, to identify priorities and where are the gaps and how can we address this more effectively. That's what's just so inspiring to, I know, us here at Qlik, and just feel very privileged to be able to work with organizations like these two that we have on here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so inspiring. So if we can look to the future, Ashleigh and Eva, in terms of the future of data, kind of help drive that social change, because we live in an ever-changing world and an ever-changing world of data as well. Just have to look to see what AI is bringing, lots of opportunities, but lots of considerations to be made as well about that technology coming into all of our lives. Kind of where do you see the future in kind of your area? Ashleigh, if I could just go to you first, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I always say when we come into communities, and I was saying it with our team yesterday, we're trying to work ourselves out of a job, not because we gave up, but because we solved it. Right. So, so that's my future, right? I mean, we want to work to end this, to turn the tide against these types of exploitation in our world. And but the future of, how data and what we're dreaming about, is a day, and we're actually, already whiteboarding this day, where we could perhaps even shorten our timeline more to show that community what is going on. So right now it takes us about 18 months, of work in a community. We can get it done in about 6 months. That's about the fastest we've ever gotten it done, to unearth all this information, to kind of grab it, from all the different places that we needed to get into the systems. And of course, rendering it is very swift, but gathering is difficult sometimes. So we're dreaming, of ways that we could build a technology solution, maybe AI driven, machine learning, driven, that we could deploy. We could tell it where to look in that community, all the different types of sources, whether they're open source websites or shared data sets, and it can just grab it and give a bit like a pre-assessment. Then we're just turning our attention to quality, checking that data, but it's already given us a picture even before we hit the ground. That would radically accelerate our timelines. And I know that maybe 6 to 18 months maybe doesn't sound like a long timeline, but when you're trying to save lives of people who are being deeply, that every minute counts, and so we're trying to find ways, dreaming about ways that the world of data and science and technology can help us radically shrink, the amount of time it takes to illuminate all of this, so we can get to work right away on the ground solving the problem. That's our dream.
I think I might know a company that could help you with that, actually.
Bring it.
Either in terms of the future with SmileChain, in terms of data. And
Thank you. This is so inspirational to hear all Ashleigh's comment. And Julie, thank you again for Qlik in our lives. When it comes to future of driving social change, for us, we want to make change at various levels, but one of them happens on the national government level as well. So with that in mind, and with help of Qlik, we have commissioned and created a study of economic impact of surgeries provided by SmileTrain. And it came up to $65 billion in the last 22 years. It's a huge number. So we are armed with data that allows us to go to local governments and stress the importance of providing care and supporting cleft care within the community. So we use it in our advocacy efforts. So again, we hope that data that we are armed with will help with making really structural, systemic change within governments and countries.
Amazing. And what advice would you have for other nonprofits who are maybe not really, considering data as part of the solution, or they have data but they're not really pushing it to the visualization or how they can use it to drive impact? What would be kind of your advice to those, to any company actually, nonprofit? Going so far with data, maybe only looking for responses, but not really driving solutions. Actually, just come to you.
Sure. The fast answer to that, I think, might be, whether we're called to help people, steward our planet, take care of all the creatures on it, right? Like we need to do that with excellence. Our world deserves excellence, not leftovers. I have personally consulted over 20,000 nonprofits. I've directed nonprofits for over 24 years. I get it. I understand. We're so overburdened and under-resourced, right? And so you're constantly feeling like, how do we break through? How do we transform this whole scenario? Well, data provides that insight, and it's not everything, right? It's relationships. It's But without data, we're blinded to maybe opportunities that might be sitting right in front of us, from a strategic play, from a relational play, from a from a, hey, maybe we didn't even think to do this. We didn't even realize, because we're so focused here in this trench, we didn't realize this other thing existed over here that might be a resource that we didn't know we had access to. And so data is providing light to some very dark things that are going on in the world today. And if you're listening in today and you're saying, whether you already engaged, in the world of work to help people, or you're thinking about career paths, and opportunities to do that, I just encourage you, do it with excellence. And data helps drive that excellence. In fact, without it, I'm not sure, you know what I mean? Like we're reaching that level. Yeah. We have to, and we can. It's 2024 with partners like Qlik and the world we live in today, we can do it. And so it's a world of opportunity, which in my mind is also a world of responsibility for us to seize that well.
Perfect. Perfect. And Eva, in terms of any advice that you can give to people watching who are just starting out and just kind of considering data?
Yes, I would say that you can move mountains with a small, well-defined data set that is presented in a meaningful and possibly beautiful way. It can be very impactful. So I kind of have practical advice. So make sure that data and Qlik team are inserted into every project from the start. And this way you won't collect noise. You will collect something that you will use. Yeah. And obviously you might have compliance requirements, some operational data you need to collect, but aside from that, really collect only what you need. So you're respectful for the data subjects. Make sure you're sensitive to the local situations. For instance, in our database, among our patients, many of them, they don't know their date of birth. So you need to be sensitive to situations like this and adjust your reporting accordingly. And last advice, reuse as much of public data sets if they're available and trustworthy. So I believe this is what Ashleigh is doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel and create everything from scratch again. You can move mountains with a small, well-defined data set that is well-picked and nicely presented.
That's beautiful. Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah, I can see that on a t-shirt, definitely. Right. A lot of what you've just said. And so, Julie, in terms of Qlik.org, could you just, after hearing Ashleigh and Eva's amazing story, could you just reinforce for people that maybe didn't come in at the beginning and just what Qlik.org inspires to do and how you work with kind of nonprofits in the world?
Yeah, so more than a decade ago, Qlik and Qlik.org set out on a mission to really support vulnerable communities, vulnerable populations, nonprofits such as Smile Train and Engage Together, to leverage information, leverage data so that those missions could go farther and we could help more people, right? And we've been just honored to work with organizations as large as the United Nations, to small nonprofits that are doing microfinance work for women-owned businesses in Guatemala, right? And everything in between. And because every type of organization has the ability to leverage information, to make their mission stronger, to inspire people, to support the necessary information back to supporters, right? As Eva was referring to, right? The supporters of Smile Train need to see that their support is having an impact. And data can tell that story, thus getting the continued support, right? People are very generous. People know what we want our world to look like. But we also want to know that our money is actually being used for what we intended. And data can help every nonprofit actually tell that story. And so from a Qlik.org perspective, we're interested and driven to work with organizations like Smile Train, like Engage Together, who see that data can actually support the work that they do day in and day out. And so we have a grant program that we support nonprofits with our software. We have colleagues from Qlik that support. We have a whole ecosystem of partners and customers that want to dive in and truly help not only these two incredible women, but many others around the world who are really making and building that world that we'd like to see. And it's just it's an honor, and Qlik.org is just, you know, we're driven to continue this mission, and we will continue it. So look forward to supporting obviously the nonprofits that are part of our family today, but, you know, others that might see an opportunity of how data can further their mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great inspiring message on Earth Day. And we will put some links in the chat, which probably is on this side, maybe it's on this side, in terms of how you can support Engage Together and Smile Train. We'll put the links in terms of donations as well. And I just wanted to shift just a tiny bit. So we are building Women Who Qlik. So we really want to bring women who Qlik together. Doesn't just have to be women, it can be allies as well. Because we see not so many women going into the data field or utilizing data. And we really want to show the benefits of it and how it can be a really inspiring career. This is an amazing conversation. But what kind of advice would you give? I'm going to come to all three of you, to women who are kind of thinking, a bit scared of data or numbers. I'm not very good with numbers. How would you what would you say to them in terms of a career which is data driven? So Eva, I would love to come to you first, if that's okay.
Yeah, very well, thank you. My advice is find a mission or a model that resonates with you. Then adopt the right data tools that will allow you to support this mission. For me, this was Smile Train and Qlik. You might end up walking into a mature data environments when you will be surrounded by like-minded colleagues from whom you will learn. Or you might walk into a completely virgin data field where you help determine the data that needs to help support the mission. But in either way, in either case, your work will make a difference. So.
Amazing.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Hashtag go for it. Ashleigh, it was like.
Well, I think back to going to law school. Now I knew why I was there, you know what I mean? But a lot of our law school first years, if you will, you know, you kind of walk into law school thinking there are 3 things you can do with a law degree on the other side. And you realize there are about 1,000 things you actually could do with a law degree. And I think that's the world of data science.
Yeah.
You know, so you might be thinking right now, well, you've got a picture in your mind that's limited about what a career in data science might look like when it can look as broad as everything we've discussed today and so much more, right? So, and so I just encourage you to throw yourself in there, you know, and just test some things out. Just, yes, align with groups in your community or other countries, you know, that you might want to go to. And I promise you, you know, you're going to get in there and try to start solving problems, and you're going to say, why is this happening? Like, or why are we not able to do this faster? Or what's keeping us, you know, and the answers to that lie in data that you don't yet have, right? And so you're going to see the importance of it, even if you tried to avoid it. So my encouragement to you is there's a world, you know, just thousands of ways you can pursue data science, and it is the future. It is the future. And it is a massive asset if you go and get that skill set. Organization, you know, like ours and so many others who need that insight. And that's what you're really bringing is the insight to change things.
And Julie, you were nodding furiously. Well, both Ashleigh and Eva were talking there.
Yeah, I could talk about this for hours. And specifically, you know, as young people who are either coming up through university or looking at potential careers and where you might want to take your journey, your personal story, you know, forward, whether it be in finance, nonprofits, you know, kind of packaged goods, fashion, what have you. Yes, jump in with both feet, like Eva said, into something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And then recognize, like Ashleigh said, that data and the ability to leverage technology can just enhance that, you know, kind of career journey that you're on. right? So don't look at, data science. I mean, if you think about like a data science career, that might sound kind of boring, right? But obviously Eva and Ashleigh are not bored, right? And they're on a mission. They're on a mission to solve one of our greatest challenges that we face today. And they're empowered with data and technology to do that. So whatever your career aspirations might be, think of data and technology as a kind of empowerment tool to help you get where you want to go faster. So it's an asset and it's a tool. And whatever you decide to do to going forward in your journey, just recognize that there are ways in which data and technology can empower that journey forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it was such a inspiring kind of message on Earth Day as well, that the key to a lot of our challenges that we're facing as the Earth lies in data and lies in the kind of solutions that the data will present. We just need to adopt it and drive it as well. So that was an amazing conversation. We could have talked for hours, I think. But thank you so much, Ashleigh and Eva, for sharing your stories. They're truly inspirational. And yeah, just amazing. And Julie, thank you for your time as well. And what you drive with Qlik.org, I think that's just amazing. We'll have lots more stories like the ones that you've just heard, data and kind of finding those solutions at Qlik Connect in Orlando. So we hope you will join us in June 3rd through to 5th for that event. It's going to be amazing. And also to kind of celebrate Earth Week and Earth Day, and also the amazing organizations that Ashleigh and Eva are working with and also driving forward. We're going to donate some money for everyone that signs up and registers for Qlik Connect this week. So there's never been a better time to register for Connect, and you're doing some great work there and you're contributing to fantastic, amazing causes. So I'll say goodbye there to our amazing guests. It's been a pleasure getting to know you through this process. So thank you very much. And goodbye from all of us. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.